Ahoy, mateys! 'Tis I, Captain Horatio Honeyflakes, and I be here to tell you about me newest crowdfunding campaign. The adventures continue with me crew, the Mighty Mascots, in issues 7, 8, and 9. Just focus your looking glass on the amazing artwork of Ian Warianto and Anton Bondi. Me crew, the Mighty Mascots, are up against some scurvy scallywags, and we need ye help to defeat them. There be a bounty of exclusive treasure, only available here, where X marks the spot. I spy a huge coffer of bonuses and stretch goals on the horizon. Then please consider pledging so we can continue these adventures with the weirdest crew I ever had the pleasure of sailing with. Mascots Unleashed!
Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Indie Comics Relay. I'm your host, Keith Gleason, creator of the Mighty Mascots. With me, maybe,
Johnny. Can you hear me?
Johnny C. I hear you. I
just can't
got a black screen, but I don't want to step on your intro.
Yeah.
Artana and Surrounded by Death. Let's see. Let me.
This is technical difficulty on my behalf, so I might have to do an emergency switch of devices here.
Okay.
I might have to make an emergency switch to my phone. So, I'd say maybe this is a great opportunity, Keith, to check into the campaign.
Yeah. Okay, Johnny. I'll look for you backstage here.
Yeah. I'll be right back, people.
That is funny. Yeah. So we've been technically behind the, in the green room for like 30 minutes. Me and Johnny were going to have a meeting with someone else, before the show. And, they missed the time zone or whatever. And so they didn't show up. So we were messing around with all the StreamYard settings. And so now Johnny's been like adding a green screen and, all this stuff. But it's creating, like he's, getting the still image or, whatever. But let me see. They will need to connect it. Okay. So he's still having trouble here. But why he's having difficulties, this is a perfect time to look at the campaign here and just go over it real quick. So Mighty Mascots 7, 8, 9 still in demand. Issues 7 and 8 are pretty much in the can. We are doing like edits. We're doing I'm having Ian redraw a few things that didn't come out the first time really good. And I'm going over. I'm like George Lucas. I tweak with this thing right up until we send it to the printer. So we're almost done issue 9 as well. So I believe Ian is just almost done all the pencils and inks. The colors, I think about 16 pages are done, and I have about 12 pages lettered. So we're getting close. So I'm hoping we could still nail the summer release date, which we've been trying to hit. So depending on how long we're at the printer, we'll see what happens. So it's kind of tough to talk without your co-host here. But we added a lunchbox, we added pirate eye patch, we added a bookmark, all this fun stuff. You can even get a pirate puppet if you want. That's like one of the higher end ones. I think we got Johnny back, hopefully. Johnny.
Hey,
there he is. Yeah, there he is.
I'm back.
All right.
I'm on my cell phone. I'm on my emergency backup stream solution. So
you got that thing plugged in so that you can.
It's plugged in. Yep.
Oh, nice.
So we won't lose battery or anything,
awesome.
Which is good.
So I use the time to go over the campaign, to show everybody where we're at. That typical thing. But one thing I wanted to tell you a funny story before we bring the guests in tonight too.
Yeah, lay it on me.
Well, we had, well, I want to say everybody, we had a great weekend. Like Saturday night, we all, me, you, Beth, Mike, my wife, friends of ours, basically.
Mike's the voice of
the pup, yeah, the
Horatio Honey Flakes, right?
Yeah, that's right. I forgot to mention that. So we all got together for a Korean barbecue in up in your neck of the woods.
Yeah,
And it was great, man. I'm actually craving it again. I want to go again. It was so good,
That's the cool thing about Korean barbecue. It's like part of it is the fact that you're out with a bunch of friends and it's a very communal experience.
Yes.
So like you're eating a lot of food, but you're doing it like kind of cooperatively and having fun and chit chat. And it's just like it's a good time,
Oh yeah, definitely.
And what a racket, right? Restaurant like puts a heating element at the table and serves you raw food that you have to cook yourself. Like what more? Like what better could you get than I'm paying you, plus I got to cook my own meal.
Yeah, right. Yeah, but like you said, it's that communal experience. It's really nice, and the food's great. All that stuff. So the story I wanted to tell you. So the next day, after that, we ended up going over my sister-in-law's for a birthday party, right?
Okay.
The birthday party went well. It was my brother-in-law's 50th, so we had a good time. So towards the end of the night, or towards the end of the afternoon, I should say, she gets this call from a friend of hers that like there's this gigantic dead snake, which is down near the lake near her house, basically about a mile away, right?
Holy crap.
Yeah. So she sends this picture, which I'm going to show right now.
Yes.
So this is a picture of this that she sent. And
whoa!
Like, okay.
Holy crap, that thing's huge.
Right. Now before you got to hear the whole thing out. So we all like, oh, we got to go see this thing. So we all jump in our car, and my brother-in-law's is like, oh my God, this is like the old people Stand By Me. We're going to go see a body, So
the old people Stand By Me. That's fantastic.
I know. I was cracking up about it. So we drive to the shore line where this thing is, and then we all kind of look over. It's not even a snake at all.
What is it?
It's okay. Let me see. I had the picture. Oh yeah, it's this. It's like this gigantic.
It's a root system.
Yeah, it's like a root system. Like,
wow.
We're all like, what the hell? And then I still got to find out if the animal control guy came, because the lady that sent the picture called animal control in on this. So
that's crazy.
Isn't that crazy?
Man, can you imagine the animal control guy showing up going, what?
Yeah. Right? Oh my God. But yeah, moral of that story,
don't jump to conclusions.
Just don't jump to conclusions. But you looked at that photo, right? I looked at it. I was like, that's a snake. It has the head right there. And,
Yep.
To find out it was just a branch. And, it was just.
I love that. That's like one of those like clickbait internet articles where it's like.
Yeah, like a hoax,
look at
right?
this giant snake. Find out what happened next.
Yeah, exactly. Oh my God, so funny. Before we bring in tonight's guests, we got a few people in the chat here.
Swing through the chat for a quick hello.
Amy said, "We hear you, Johnny." That must have been when you were testing, I think.
Oh yeah, when I had my little technical error.
Yeah, right.
God, I just need new hardware. I think that's what it's coming down to.
Yeah, right. Our buddy Brian at Blast Beat Industries. I haven't seen Brian or heard from him in a while.
Hey,
buy these comics or I'll peacefully protest by burning down a Walgreens. Oh wow, look at that! Yes, I love it.
Yes, I love it.
And then my buddy Mike Gleason, you should be reading right now. So that's an inside joke. My buddy Mike Martone, who's like a friend of mine from going way back now. Earlier this week, he sent me like a little stack like this of, comic book trade paperbacks that he has. And he's like, he's like, dude, I feel like a hoarder. I got this small stack. So then I sent him a picture of my 2 gigantic stacks that I haven't read yet. So I go, hope you feel better now, man. You know,
Actually, now that I'm on my phone, I can do this. Hang on one sec.
okay.
I can probably flip the camera around, maybe, or I'll just.
What are you trying to do?
That stack right there is all Kickstarter comics. All
Oh
that
my
right
God.
there. There's 2 long boxes, 2 big long boxes, a small long box, and this stack
my
up
God.
over here. I'm like way behind on my
Oh
comics.
my God. You could do like 80 like unboxing videos, you know?
Oh, unboxing videos till the end of time.
Let me see. So Amy said the lady who saw the snake must have been drinking sake.
Oh, maybe. I was drinking sake, that's for sure.
And Roger Morocco, president accounted for.
Ah, my good cousin
to see you,
Roger.
Roger. Good to see you
Big
here.
shout out to him and Pam. We love him. Roger's
Yeah,
actually got a few real cool pieces of artwork he's been working on that he's been sending me. I don't want to preemptively just debut it all, but he's hitting the artist board once again, and man, he's got some really cool looking stuff he's working on.
Awesome. Yeah, I'd love to see it. I'll have to send them to me, or is he gonna bring them to a show with you at some point? Or
Well, so he gave me some prints. I just don't have them handy, but I'll have him ping you. He'll send them to you, man. It's got some good stuff. He's got some good stuff going.
awesome.
Very classic, like silver, gold age kind of style art. It's really cool.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, we got a great show tonight. We have returning guest Tony James, who was on with us. I want to say maybe 2 months ago, maybe Johnny, 3 months.
Not that long ago, actually. Yeah, he was here on Kickstarter with Star Noir, and now he's bringing Star Noir to Indiegogo.
Yeah, which is great. You know, it's like I like the part about Indiegogo where you can keep the on demand going, which I think is the best part about Indiegogo. Which I think Kickstarter has an element of that now, but I don't know how it works or.
Well, you could basically link an online store.
Oh,
so
okay.
It's kind of like that, but I feel like on Indiegogo it's actually a little bit better. It's a little bit more.
It adds to your total, so it feels like it's a little more. I don't know. Like,
it's rolled into the campaign in that sense, whereas Kickstarter it's not, I believe. Unless they
like if you look at, and you can also tell where the campaign originally ended, and then how much money you made over that, which is kind of nice.
Right.
So like the Mighty Mascots one, I think it ended at like around 7,000. So just being in demand, I've been able to raise almost another $1,000, which is awesome, And
that helps a lot, I'm sure.
Yeah, especially when you're doing these shows, and I have ads on all our videos, things like that. The other guest tonight, Mike Spring, who is a new to the show. You know him from Saratoga, and I met him for the first time in Terrificon last year.
Yeah, we just made that startling realization.
Yeah,
backstage. My mind is blown. I was like, oh my God. When you recognize somebody from somewhere else and then you don't put it together until after, and you're like that's exactly how I just felt.
That happens, dude. That happens.
Yeah. Mike's real cool. Chatted with him a little bit over at Saratoga Comic-Con. He's right next to I believe it was Russ, and he's got a really good spot there at the show too. It connects both rooms.
Awesome.
Yeah, that little spot right there that connects the 2 rooms. Like lots of foot traffic there. Like I'd be surprised to hear if he had a bad show.
No, that's awesome. That's all placement, right? With every con, it's that placement is that special thing,
For sure, absolutely, for sure.
All right, without further ado, let's bring in tonight's guest, and
let's bring these homies in
here. So let's start with returning guest Tony James. How's it going, Tony?
Thanks for having me back.
Yeah, thanks for coming.
Thanks for coming back, man.
Yeah, definitely. And then also new guest Mike Spring. Mike, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited.
Yeah, definitely. And did you hear us talking about you and Johnny making that connection?
Yep. It's a little mind blowing that it happens for sure. But
it's always a fun time to have him at the Saratoga Con coming around and chatting with us. So, and you got it exactly where I was, right in that corner spot there.
Yeah. How did you do there at Saratoga this year? Honestly,
very well. I always do good at Saratoga. It's a great con,
Okay.
actually, for being kind of a weird show, I think. But I always do very well there. But that
It's a weird mix
corner
of
spot
stuff.
is strange. It is a lot of traffic. It's also a lot of people kind of walking right by you because they're running to the bathroom or something, you know. But like,
right.
I do better there than I do just out in the regular table, so I can't complain.
Visibility
Nice.
is key, I think. Like, you know, the more people see you, the more you have that chance to connect and do a sale, you know?
Yeah. And are you going to be back in the spring?
Yes, I am. Yep, I already have the table in the corner booked.
Yeah,
Awesome.
I'm really looking forward to the spring show because there's a Fright Night reunion.
Oh, nice.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so we've got the three main characters from the original Fright Night showing up.
He's got oh, really? So
Yeah,
he's got was it
Amanda Bierce,
yep.
who was also on Married with Children.
Did he get Herman's head? The main
He's got
guy?
Herman's head. Yeah, he's got the dude who played
wow.
Charlie. And he's got Stephen Jeffries. So it's going to be cool.
He didn't get the vampire though.
No, he couldn't get Chris Sarandon.
Chris Sarandon, yeah.
No, but he's got the three main kids, like,
that's pretty good.
Yeah, it's not bad, man. It's pretty neat.
Shit. I kind of want to go to that show. That's one of my favorite movies of all time, like the first one.
Oh, yeah. I don't mind the remake either, but that first movie's dope.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and the second one, which is basically the first one just done, but in reverse, you know?
Right, retold or whatever.
Yeah, well, redone, but Charlie and the why am I blanking on the older guy's name? Peter Vincent. They switch roles in the second one, where Peter Vincent's the believer and Charlie's the skeptic, you know?
Right,
the same movie, basically.
It's an older woman, right? Doesn't he get seduced by an older woman or something like that?
Yeah, basically. Yeah. It's not bad, but it's just, there's nothing to it. But
it doesn't have the charm of the first.
Yeah, exactly. So we'll start with Mike tonight. Like, Mike, when we always have a guest on, the first thing we always love to find out the origin of how, what comic or, movie or, cartoon when you were younger kind of inspired you to want to become a comic creator. Is there something you can point to?
Sort of. I mean, I definitely remember what got me into comic books. It was Transformers #3, which I was a big Transformers toy fan, and I found this at a flea market, like at a comic book store in a flea market. That was like the newest issue, and I was like, "Ooh, there's a Transformers comic book," but it had Spider-Man in it, and it was Spider-Man with his black suit when it was still Venom, but before we knew it was Venom.
Okay.
So it was just him with his alien suit, and I was like, "Whoa, this is mind blowing. That's not the Spider-Man from the cartoon," and that got me into Spider-Man, and from there, it's been a lifelong journey of being poor because I buy way too many comic books. So that's really what started me into comics. As far as getting to writing them, it was something really more that I kind of had in the back of my head for a long time. I got started writing like 9 years ago or so, and actually, it wasn't a comic that got me started. It was a YA book, a young adult novel, which I'm not going to name because what happened was it's not Twilight. Everyone always guesses Twilight. It's not Twilight. It was a different series. And I read this book. It has this great concept, and it was like the worst written book I've ever read in my entire life. Like,
you know what? I think that's YA to a T.
I mean, I guess so, but this one I think I like a lot of YA books. So this one was to the nth degree. It was just really like the worst written book ever, but it was incredibly successful. And I had toyed with kind of writing, and I'd always done writing like in my jobs and other things. And I was an English major and all this stuff, but I never really pursued it in terms of fiction until I read that book. And I said, if this guy can sell millions of copies of this book, I can write something that's at least that good. Right? Like that, it cannot be that hard to write something as good as this book. And so that's what got me started. I started writing some prose novels, and I wrote a couple of those. And I was always kind of afraid to jump into comic books because I always thought like, well, I don't know what I would do with Spider-Man for 12 issues, so I guess I can't write comics. And then finally it dawned on me one day, like, Marvel's not beating my door down just yet to write Spider-Man for 12 issues. So why don't I worry about that problem when it comes around,
Right.
On just trying to write a comic book. And so I started to get some ideas for some comics, and I put them into, finally I was kind of like, you know what, I'm going to do my own comic. I don't have to worry about it. I just have my story that I want to tell. And I then that's been kind of where I've been going ever since. And I sort of put the prose stuff to the side, and now I'm doing writing the comics only.
So do you like one over the other, or do you prefer?
Yeah, I mean, I like writing comics better. For one, I've just been a lifelong obsessive comics fan, always since I was, very young. It's just been my passion. And I'm also very impatient. And there's definitely things about creating comics where like waiting for my artists. That's not great for somebody who's impatient. But also like when I'm writing a prose novel, I just want to get to the good stuff, and I just want to write like the dialogue and stuff. And then I'm like, oh, I guess I should mention they're on a train, or like, oh, tomorrow now, and like here they are. Like I gotta tell where people are. And I'm like, I don't want to do that. Like I hate describing stuff. I'm just want to be like, here they're in a bank. Bank robbers show up. They shoot. Things happen. Now draw it. And that's what my my artist does that part. So like I like the immediacy of the comics. I really like to focus on dialogue. I think that's kind of my strength.
Me too, actually. Like I start to write the dialogue, like I'll set the characters up in my head and have them talk back and forth. Mm-hmm. And then I too forget all the other crap around it. Like, and sometimes it's a detriment because you're like, oh yeah, I got to kind of establish what's going on here.
Yeah. When you're in a good collaborative relationship with an artist, though, you can keep it very vague and simple, and they'll fill in those gaps for you perfectly. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. I always say if I could draw and I drew my own comic, it would just be 24 pages of two people's heads like talking to each other. And that's not that exciting. And I luckily I found this amazing artist named Dennis Torona, and I can mostly give him a page of just dialogue, and maybe I just say like, hey, the major event that happens, aliens show up or whatever. But then I just write the dialogue out, and he just turns it into gold, and he adds all these different perspectives and angles and other things happening, and just takes it in directions I would never think of visually. So it's a really great partnership, and that's exactly what it's like, Johnny.
Oh yeah, definitely. And Tony, like I forget, like I know we had you on the show a couple months ago, but I forget what your inspiration was. That was it X-Files?
No, it was my mom got me the omnibus for the Death and Return of Superman.
That's right.
Oh yes.
That's right.
And I didn't know anything about that story going into it, and I was just so blown away by like the epic scope of that story and the different iterations of Superman. That really got me hooked into comics.
Yeah, it was good. It was good soap opera stuff because I remember like it just kept going on and on, and I was like, this is great,
Speaking of both the black costume and the Death and Return of Superman, both two instances that you guys cited, like. That's one of my absolute favorite kind of comic tropes is like black suit Spider-Man. You didn't know that was Venom. And that leading up to Venom was awesome. Like Doomsday, he was in that containment suit. And he was handling Superman. You know what I mean? And like just that mystique of who's in this suit and why can they take on Superman? I love that kind of
and then remember when all the Superman Steel and all those guys show up and they were like, who's the real Superman? All that stuff was great.
Or even like I'm thinking to one of my personal favorites was the Red Hulk thing. It's like, who's Red Hulk?
Yep.
And that mystery was just so awesome. It's like there's a magical period of comics where you have like that kind of hook type of story, and the journey getting there, the big reveal is so much fun.
Yeah. I feel like that's kind of lost in modern comics now a little bit, like that kind of when they do an event now, it just feels like, here's the book, here's the beginning part of the event, here's like 2 months of tie-ins, and here's the end part, and then that's it. Like it's no impact, nothing. You know what I mean? It doesn't go on. It just feels like it's so like lame, I guess.
Yeah, I feel you there.
Yeah. But anyways, Tony, continue. Tell us a little bit of your creative origins. So the Death and Return of Superman definitely got me hooked into comics. I was also like a big kid of the 90s, so like Batman the Animated Series was really huge for me. And I would also write my own knockoff Garfield comics. I would draw. I did that
with really terrible art. And then as I got older, I was writing film scripts, and I went to film school, and I was making a bunch of short films, and then I kind of fell back into comics, and I was like, oh, maybe instead of the film route, let's try the comic route, because it's kind of the first passion. And I've been just taking cracks at the plate ever since. I had back in 2016, 2017, I had a successful Kickstarter for a cyberpunk comic called Reloader. That went pretty well. And then during the pandemic, I just started writing a whole bunch of stories, and one of those was Star Noir, which was really successful on Kickstarter.
Awesome.
Bless you, creators that were able to stay productive during the pandemic.
Yeah.
I was just like, time to shut down.
No, I love that time. I wish I could go back.
A little bit, yeah.
I
feel like if I could go back again, I'd do it better. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I feel like I got so much done during that time, and it's sad to say because a lot of crap happened.
Yeah.
Right.
Like, I felt insulated from everything, and like both me and my wife were working, and then creatively I was working too a lot. So I don't know. It was just a good time for me as far as creativity goes. But so Tony, is this your second like major campaign, or is it?
This is the second successful Kickstarter. It's the first one where I raised more than 10K, which was crazy.
Nice.
Congrats, man. That's so awesome.
Yeah, that was crazy. And then since the Kickstarter wrapped, people have been messaging me on all my socials saying that they missed the Kickstarter. How can I get a copy of the book? And I just was like sort of doing the Kickstarter math in my head of like, okay, well, if you back the second campaign in the fall, you may not read the first book until next year. So if you want to read it this year, I'll just start at Indiegogo, and then everybody can be fulfilled at the same time.
Yeah, it's not a bad idea. And then like, I'm hoping I see like you got 11 days left and you got about 1,100 to make up.
Yeah.
I think it's doable.
Yeah.
And I think
Totally.
with Indiegogo, I think you get the money anyways, even if it doesn't fulfill.
Yeah,
I think you get.
I've set that up. Yeah, like this is like a totally different kind of stakes this time around. The Kickstarter was like, oh, we have to make this money or this book won't exist. And this one is just like, well, how many more readers can I get in the initial?
Can I get out of this? Yeah.
Push? Yeah.
Yeah, it's tough. These campaigns are tough to figure out. Mike, I saw that you've done like 6, right? 6 different ones.
This is my 6th Kickstarter.
Wow.
So it's some days you feel like, yeah, I've got this down, I know what I'm doing, and then there's days where you're like, why do I put myself through this? What am I thinking? Why didn't I think of that? I had a huge one on this one. My last campaign, the last 4 Kickstarters I did were for my first comic, Red, White, and Broke. It was a 4-issue miniseries and then a trade paperback. And so now my new book is Uncaped, and somebody messaged me 2 weeks into the campaign and said, hey, I'd like to read Red, White, and Broke, but I live in Israel and I can only order the digital copy because physical shipping is so expensive. Do you have a digital copy offering? And I'm like, I put like 20 add-ons on the campaign, including a physical copy of Red, White, and Broke. Never thought to put a digital copy on. So I went in and added it, and I sent out an update to backers, and I made like $400 that day, and people upping their pledge to add the digital version.
That's become a thing now, like because shipping is so out of control.
Right.
I never did digital on mine. I did it this time around, and I've gotten a lot of
almost half the books I've sold at this point are digital.
Oh wow, that's awesome.
So I've always said that creators will always back other creators digitally.
Mm-hmm.
Because they know, they're like, okay, well, it's one less thing you have to pack and ship out.
Exactly.
I want to support the campaign. I'll take the PDF, no problem. You know, I'm more than happy than overpaying for a PDF just to help support a campaign. You know what I mean?
Yep. It's weird with the digitals because the price point is lower. So you obviously you like when you get those higher pledges, but then you're like, man, that is one less thing I got to package and ship and print a label for, and printing extra copies and all. It gets so expensive that you're like, oh, digital. I think I've sold almost 100 copies digitally of this one, and I'm like, that's 100 books I don't have to ship up and send out. I'm okay.
That's a way to think about it. It's almost like a impulse buy.
Yeah. Right. Exactly.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, and me too. Like, I'm gonna start including digital from now on whenever I do a campaign. Whereas I wasn't doing that, but now because shipping is so crazy, I think people are doing that a lot. So especially if they're overseas.
Setting up your digital through like something like Global Comics is great because you could then point people to the platform. They can download the PDF for free right there or read it live on the website. So it's a real handy way to kind of distribute without having to, do an email blast where, you're mailing your whole mail list or anything like that. Plus, you're promoting Global Comics, which is a pretty neat platform in and of itself,
Right.
Yeah, they're stepping it up, but then they just get Image and Boom and a few other major
huge,
players.
yeah.
Yeah, those guys were coming on our show. I don't know, we had no viewers, and those guys were coming on to promote Global Comics, and they were just starting too. So it's great to see them
skyrocket.
Skyrocket. Do you guys do your books digitally on there at all? Or
I haven't yet, but I'm gonna check it out now.
Check it out, dude.
I highly recommend it. They're a really cool platform. Great guys.
Because I don't have a great platform for it actually right now. I just sort of send them out to people. So I'd rather do something where I can put it on that. So I'm going to definitely.
Or you give them a download code or something.
Them out. Yeah.
It's easier. How about Tony? Do you do that digitally?
No? Not yet, but I am also interested in doing that. And it's interesting because, with Comixology just going away, it's interesting to see Global Comics sort of stepping up and stepping in. Yeah,
they're filling that rank. And I think they've. The best thing about them is they built a good indie community as the backbone of the business, which I think is smart.
Yeah.
And Comixology, I used to have my stuff on there, but I used to find that it, got stolen a lot, and you know what I mean? Like, so I don't know.
I feel like Global Comics is where Comics Tribe wants to be. And that's not a knock on Tyler. It's just that Global Comics has that really nice interface and platform to read comics,
Yeah.
Why is Comics Tribe trying to go digital?
Well, they're a publication platform, right? And they, they do have a couple of digital things or whatever. But like in terms of like growth and trying to capture an audience, like you can clearly see Global Comics, strived at that,
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely. So I think both of you guys have some really cool, really both awesome looking campaigns. I've already backed Star Noir on Kickstarter, which I can't wait to read it. Every time you share an update, I look at the pages. Your artist is incredible.
Dope.
Tony. Yeah, really
so good.
I tell Pablo all the time, it's like, no matter what happens with Star Noir, like you're gonna have a full career ahead of you. Like every single page, I just go, wow, I can't believe, like his layout choices, like the emotion that he gets out of characters' eyes. It's really incredible. Like having front row seats to that is crazy.
Oh yeah,
that is cool.
The quiet moments too. It's usually where an artist impresses me, when it's just the talking head scenes. And if you can make those dynamic, you're batting 1,000, so right there. And it's book one. So how many do you have? A bunch planned?
Yeah, there's this one of 6. So we already have
6. Okay.
Yeah, we already have the second script is already locked. So once we're done with this first book, we're just going to jump right into the second one.
Oh, beautiful! That's awesome. Now, are you going to kickstart all of them along the way?
Yeah. So we're going to do the book 2 in the fall for the Kickstarter. So everyone will have read the book by then.
Okay.
And then once that's up, I have this completely separate story. It's a different story altogether. That'll be my sort of B Kickstarter, and I'll like ping pong between that and Star Noir.
Oh, gotcha. That's cool. Yeah, that's the one thing about being. What's that, Mike?
I was just going to say, Tony, I know we just met, but I do have like a little piece of advice for you.
Yeah.
You want to hear it? So since you're doing more than one Star Noir, I would, if I was me, I would just walk around all day telling people, yeah, I write Star Noirs. And if they're like, wait, did you say you write Star Wars? I'd be like, I did not say I write Star Wars. I'm just, just throwing it out there. Like that's a shade to it,
Yeah.
Just put it in there. You know what I mean?
I could definitely do that. Yeah.
That's a great piece of advice.
Yeah. It's like sleight of hand.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
but
right.
verbally.
That's like actually Jedi mind trick shit.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
Yeah. That's great. No, Mike, I was gonna say the same thing. Your artist is really good too. Like you sold me on when I was in Terrificon when I first met you. I happened to just actually be going to Johnny's table, and I walked by. You had a funny little. I forget what you did. Like
I had a sign.
Yeah. What was the sign that you had at your table?
Said, "Come take a look. I won't hard sell you. And that actually originated at Terrificon and has become the
But you
best
had this
sales
face
tool
too. You do
I've
this
ever had.
face
Yeah,
with it.
yeah. There's definitely you have to have a vibe to go with it. But I
Yeah.
was on an end table at Terrificon, and it was like the spot of death for some reason. Like people would walk like around the end table, like you go around me, and somehow manage to walk a full like 180 circle around my table, but never turn their head in my direction. Made it really challenging to sell people.
That aisle was really wide.
Right,
too.
right,
I think
exactly.
that hurt.
So-
But they have to work real hard to avoid you, though, at that
Yeah.
point, right?
Yeah, but yeah, so I had the sign made that said, come take a look. I'm not going to hard sell you because there's this thing at comic conventions with especially independent creators where people are like, I can't get within 6 feet of you. I can't make eye contact because if I do, you're gonna try and sell me something. So it's like they walk around and it's very uncomfortable. And I'm like, I just want people to know, like, you can come take a look at my stuff, and I'm not going to pressure you. Like, just take a look, and if you don't like it, then you can walk away. I'm not going to, badger you. And so I started using that sign, and I got to tell you, but that saved my convention. And now I use it at all my conventions, and it's
when you find that little thing. Yeah, when you find that little hook or
Right.
whatever, that's awesome.
It's definitely
it got me, dude. It got me. Like I wasn't even looking to buy a book, but I stopped and took a look at your book.
You fell victim to my psychological warfare.
I did. I did. But
it's definitely a balance though, because if you're not proactive enough,
right,
people will just walk right on by.
Absolutely.
But I want to say this, Mike. I bet you thought because I didn't buy it right away. I bet you thought like that son of a bitch isn't coming back.
Well, I didn't think it like that wasn't that angry, but I will say this. If I had a nickel for every person at a convention who says they're going to come back and buy a comic book, I wouldn't need to do comic book conventions.
Right.
Right? I mean, you guys know what I'm talking about.
Oh yeah,
100%.
Yeah.
But when I heard the pitch, so I want to talk about your other book for a minute here, the Red, White, and Broke.
Yep.
When you told me the pitch for it, I loved it. I thought, what a great idea that no one is. I think people have done, similar adjacent kind of storylines like that in comics, but your unique take on it was really good. And I came back for all 4 issues and bought it. I don't know if you saw the video. I did a recap at Terrificon on the channel a while ago.
I didn't, and now I need to track it down though.
Yeah, I just talked about the book and what I thought of it, and
thank you.
Yeah, definitely. I liked it a lot. I thought it was a lot of fun.
Awesome.
But yeah, share with the audience the premise of that book.
Sure. So my first comic was Red, White, and Broke, and basically the story is it's about a superhero who can't afford to pay the bills because every time he flies off to save the world, he gets fired from his day job because that's what would happen in the real world, right? If you work at like Staples and you fly off and disappear for 4 hours and you don't tell people where you're going, you're going to get canned. So he launches a Kickstarter campaign to crowdfund his superheroics. And so he goes on live television to announce it to the world, and then the bad guys get wind of it, they crash the party, and things get crazy from there. And maybe aliens show up at some point. But yeah, so that's really so there's a lot of the superhero stuff, but there's also a lot of it is really looking at the real world logistics of being a superhero. Like, where does he keep a cell phone? Who pays for the costumes? Who makes the costumes? All of that type of stuff. And then I had a lot of fun creating like the Kickstarter rewards. Like you can get autographed rubble from a supervillain battle, from a demolished building. I had a lot of fun with stuff like that. So that's
great.
Of Red, White, and Broke.
Yeah, it was really fun.
That. You made gravel like a reward tier.
Yeah,
that's pretty cool.
Right.
Like, talk about selling rocks to folks, man. I love that.
He's got lots of it. He cleans up these demolished buildings, so now he's got a stockpile. Why not?
Yeah.
Well,
great idea.
It's like people who buy pieces of the Berlin Wall.
Yeah, right.
That is just so fun that you kind of made that for your universe.
Yeah.
Tony's thinking I gotta sell blood now, like, like evidence, that would actually be kind of fun if you had like, I don't know if you could ever get like police tape or something, made like, for your book and it says Star Noir on it or something.
Yeah,
that'd be kind of fun,
I've seen evidence bags. People have evidence bags.
There you go. Or even the markers, the markers they put on like when they mark where the bullet lands and things like that. That would be kind of a fun little giveaway,
Yeah.
But you got to think in terms of shipping. What's that?
Yeah.
Like a high level tier where you actually send a backer like a dead body, make that like limited to 5 only,
Right.
Really
you sell it on DHL.
Yeah, get the big backers in.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Volunteer. You know, I'm an ideas guy.
Yeah.
What can I say?
The weight on that'll be pretty brutal.
But the shipping,
Yeah.
that's why you got to make sure the tier price is worth it because the shipping's going to kill you.
Yeah, you might have to put that on a pallet and wrap it.
Right.
You know.
Mhm.
That's
Mhm.
awesome. But yeah, that's a kind of fun, like when you have a campaign is you can do those little fun things, you know.
One of my favorite things I did with Red, White, and Broke, actually, and I never came up with anything as creative as this after the first one, but I did membership cards in the first campaign that say like that it was a stretch goal, so that and they were like credit card kind of plastic, not just like trading cards, and it was like a fan club membership, and it says like you pledge to help save the world, and it has like a backer number, and it says like on the back it's like your pledge has helped Captain Stronghold continue as superheroics type of thing, and people really loved them. I got a lot of really
Great
positive
idea
comments on that. Yeah, and then I ran out of
especially
ideas for
since
good
the
stretch goals.
premise. Yeah.
But it fit that one really well. So
Yeah, definitely. Are you planning on doing more with that character, or?
yes, I do have a sequel mapped out for that already. It's the blessing and the curse, right, of being a comic book writer. I feel like, or at least me, the way my brain works is I always have a million ideas for different stories, and I want to get to all of them. So it's kind of like, I wanted to take a break from Red, White, and Broke just to try and reach new audiences and have something a little bit different to offer at like conventions and stuff. Because if you're not into that story, then I can't sell to you, right? So I wanted to have a couple different things, but it was also very well received and people really liked it. And I do have an idea for a sequel that I want to come back to. So it's in the long-term planning stages, and it'll be one of the next few books that I do. I probably want to do one or two more different ideas to have a little more variety, and then I'll start coming back and doing some sequels,
Yeah, no, that's great,
because I do know where I want to go with a lot of these characters.
That's awesome. Yeah, I feel like I think that's a pretty common thing. Like, you got to really kind of pick your projects because you are going to be locked into them for a while,
right?
At least a year or so, like producing like one or two issues depending on how much, you know what I mean, like how fast your artist is and stuff.
Yeah.
But a very good point to say, like, when it comes to, selling books at a table, the more variety you have to sell, the more chance you have to sell that variety. So,
Right.
Yeah. So, that's, and also just for the sake of working in different genres and learning to write different kinds of stories and learning the tropes and intricacies of, say, writing a superhero story versus writing a drama or an action story or sci-fi, or if you're like Tony and you're gonna meld a few, put a little science fiction, a little bit of noir, with that peanut butter that gets into that chocolate, you know what I mean?
That's true.
They got into the peanut butter.
Yeah, right. Yours reminds me of, like, remember that? Was it Alien Nation? Remember that show?
I fucking love Alien Nation.
Yeah, that was good stuff.
Huge fan.
But this is sort of like the LA Confidential version of it,
Yeah. Very like the Big Nowhere, those Elroy books.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then mixed with like the X-Files, it's sort of like almost sort of grounded view of aliens where you just kind of take real world abduction stories and weave it into your own narrative. That's what Star Noir does.
Yeah, I love that. Like, I think it's a great mixing of the genres, like Johnny was saying. I love when you see that in like a comic, like it's someone that kind of takes one thing and adds it to another, and it's like, yeah, that makes sense. Like, like you didn't think of it and you get mad because, like, I wish I thought of that, but yeah,
like when you mix ninjas and turtles.
Yeah. Right.
What? Yep. That's a terrible idea. Nobody buys that.
Yeah.
Come on, Johnny. Ridiculous.
Yeah.
Let's keep it grounded here, okay?
Yeah. The other story that I'm eventually gonna bring to Kickstarter is another mixture of genres. It's sort of in the same way that Star Noir mixes noir and aliens. Just think of like a traditional spaghetti western and have that mixed with something else.
Can you give like a little bit of a pitch or a preview of what you have planned?
I'll just say it's Cowboys on the Moon.
Oh,
okay.
Nice.
I like that. Yeah, I'm curious to see that kind of,
but like, but very like inspired by like Unforgiven, all those really classic westerns, like, and just in the way that Star Noir really commits to the noir genre, this book really commits to the Western genre.
Gotcha.
Just because I'm really committed to getting this into your lexicon somewhere, Tony, here's a name idea: Spur Wars. Again, so that you can just walk around and be like, yeah, I write Star Wars. And you're like, what? You write Star Wars? Just throwing it out.
I like that. I like that.
Yeah, I like that too. Do you, now, Tony, do you do a lot of conventions or no?
I've not done any tabling.
Really?
Yeah, this is sort of a new venture for me. Once I have the Star Noir books, I'm gonna take that book and the Cyberpunk book that I already have, and then start going to some local ones around New York City, around the tri-state area.
Nice.
So it's a brand new experience to me.
Awesome. Yeah, I would say starting out, probably you want to do like the one-dayers and the the smaller shows, and before you start
right at New York Comic Con, man. Just
Man, I'm with Mike.
Lose your shirt.
Don't do
that. Actually, don't do that.
Yeah, no, that's a bad
I say
idea.
do it. Jump into the deep end.
Well,
Think about it. If you start at 60, you will then excel to 120.
Right.
No, I wouldn't advise that unless you have money that you can burn. You know?
Right.
Yeah.
Because I mean, God, the first 10 years of me doing shows, I don't think I ever broke even. But I was living at home.
Even. So forget about breaking even.
You know,
all about how you do the accounting, though, Keith. You know, like I always make money at conventions, but I also don't count my food or hotel expenses against the show, right? Because and this is a mental game that I do, but I'm always like, if I can make my table back, that's breaking even. Yeah, I spent a ton of money on the hotel and the food and the gas, but I like to think but I might have gone to that convention anyway because I'm a big comics fan. So then I would have had to pay for the hotel and the food anyway. So I don't count that in my mental, and then it makes me feel a lot better about it.
Well, those are all business expenses too.
Yeah,
so when it comes to tax
exactly.
season,
I look at those as a different thing, and I
yeah.
It's psychological, but it sort of makes it work for me.
Right.
I think most people got to do that because if you really added every expense, I don't think anyone would make money.
Just stop making comics.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Because on top of all that stuff, you got to add in your time, you know,
right.
And if you broke down your hourly wage, it's
we don't do
none
that.
of it adds up. You know?
Yeah.
We don't do that.
Yeah, no, not at all.
Well, I think that's when I first started writing comics, I wanted to take on every project, and then I realized how valuable my time was, and then I was like, okay, I gotta pump the brakes and only do what really speaks to me specifically, you know.
For sure.
Oh yeah, definitely. Well, that's what I was saying earlier too. You got to choose it wisely because you're locked in for at least a year with most stuff, you know. So
right.
You know, and it's like you don't want to be halfway through an issue and you're like, oh God, I wish I did the other project, you know.
So that's why I changed my format because of that.
Did you?
Yeah. So Red, White, and Baroque was 4-issue miniseries, and that's a lot. People who don't create comics, I think, don't realize how much work goes into trying to create a series and trying to get people to come back for the next issue. And when you're not Marvel or DC, and you can't put them out every month, and there's 6 months between issues, and then just trying to keep my order numbers level. I'd end up with 50 number 1 leftover issues and then 200 number 2s, and then it's I got to do something because I can't sell the number 2s without number 1, so I got to order more. And I'm not good at that type of stuff. So moving forward, starting with my current book, Uncaped, what I'm doing actually is 48-page square-bound one-shots.
One-shots,
so
yeah.
Nice
I like that
format. It's a complete story, start to finish. Not that I can't do another story in that universe.
Right, but you got the.
But it's that square-bound, feels like a graphic novel. It tells a complete story, no cliffhanger or anything like that. And then I just have the one book, and it's got multiple covers and stuff. But I don't have to worry about how do I get people to come back for more? I left it on a cliffhanger, and people don't want to read half a story. Because at the cons, it's a lot easier to sell a story when it's complete, I've learned, than here's issue 1 and issue 2 is coming out in 6 months.
I always put that in my pitch, especially for my story, The Pond, is a 2-issue series. So, whenever I pitch, I go, well, here's a complete 2-issue story, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so this way now I can just have moving forward, I'll have the Red, White, and Baroque trade paperback. I'm phasing out the singles, and then all my books coming from here on out will all be one-shots. So it can kind of be here, anything you pick up on this table is a complete story. And, it just makes it a lot easier for me, and I think for the readers as well.
Yeah. Smart. Yeah. No, I agree. And people see that you completed it,
Mhm.
so that they're more trusting of it too.
Absolutely.
That's the other
Yeah.
thing with indie guys, you know.
Yep.
Someone produces one issue and you never know if they're gonna do the rest or
Yep.
not.
I've heard that a lot from people.
Yeah,
Yeah, 100%.
So-
That's like
I'm a culprit.
yeah, but you're all wait, which book are you talking about with that? You're
Well-
finishing stuff.
Yeah, I'm finishing stuff. It's just taking forever.
Right, but you are finishing it though. That's
I
the
am
key.
finishing it. I
Yeah.
am finishing it for sure.
Awesome. So all right, yeah. So let's take a look at both of you guys' campaigns.
Yeah, let's fire it up.
Yeah. So let's take a look at Tony's first, since I have this one open at the window here. So yeah, Tony, do you want to give like the quick elevator pitch to the audience on this one?
Yes. So it is about a 1940s detective, Alan Miller, who teams up with this gray alien to stop a shapeshifter who is killing LAPD officers in Central Station, which is one of the popular precincts of that era. Yes. So it opens with a traffic detective who finds a Studebaker Starlight that's abandoned on the road, and he is killed by a shapeshifter. And it's this crazy murder. No one really knows what's going on. His heart is completely missing. And then one night, Alan Miller, our main detective, he's visited by an alien who tells him telepathically that a shapeshifter who's hiding in your precinct as one of your fellow detectives is the person that has killed your traffic detective. And so over the course of 6 books, it's this unfolding murder mystery as they try to figure out which one of these officers is actually the alien shapeshifter. And you get a little bit of that sort of McCarthyism vibe in there. People not sure who they can trust. So yeah, it's been really exciting. Kind of a wild experience making it. This first book is 42 pages, and we have like 11 pages left to make for this first book.
Oh wow! So you
Oh wow, yeah.
So we're almost done with this first book. Yeah, and I think what's great about the Indiegogo is that unlike the Kickstarter, you can actually read the first 9 pages straight through, so you can really get a good taste of what the book is like.
That's a good idea, actually. You know, like so you give the people and you show a finished product, which I think helps with people's confidence with the campaigns. You know,
yeah, for sure.
How is are you good at building a mystery, Tony? Have you tried that before in writing?
Yeah, I've done that in a few other stories. You kind of figure out the mystery at the end and then sort of work backwards.
Okay.
You sort of like, with the obviously I'm not going to give away the twist of the story, but with writing Star Noir, I was writing it one way, and at the end, a character did something, and I was like, oh wait, this other line that seemingly was throwaway could actually be this really great twist. And now I totally know what the twist is, and it's just playing right in front of the reader's face the entire time. So
That's awesome.
Yeah. So it's definitely going to be one of those twists where you have to go back and read it again to see what beats you missed.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
I like that.
It's a testament to a creator to be so in tune with your story that you can still make discoveries along the way like that, where you can find little tiny threads to be able to, kind of make big expressions for future issues or even retroactively,
Yeah, writing is kind of it's a little bit like lights through the fog. You're really not sure what you're going to see until you get to the very end.
Right.
Yeah. So it's the different twists that the story takes are really exciting.
I love that.
And are really just a product of kind of seeing the end result and then working backwards.
Yeah. Well, it's awesome. I now do you have this creative team locked in for the full 6-issue run?
Yeah.
Oh, you do. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Nice.
So the second Kickstarter will be back in the fall for book 2.
Yeah.
And then by then you'll all have read the book and you can tell me all about it.
Awesome.
Nice.
Now, are you running into the same thing Mike was saying, where it's so hard to produce a bunch of issues for, like for like a mini series per se? Like they always say when you start comics, you should think smaller and do like 8 pages or a one shot, things like that. Are you feeling that a little bit with this campaign, or are you just loving the whole thing, the whole process?
Not so much. I mean, it is constant work to kind of, I got inks, now I got colors, and I got to send it off to the letterers, and it's just I feel like an air traffic controller just landing one thing to get another one off the ground.
It's juggling processes for sure.
Yeah. But I think what we kind of have going for us is that this whole script is done. Like it exists. So we're just trying to make the pages.
So do you have the whole script for all 6?
Yeah. So there's
you do. Okay, that's great.
There's no tinkering. There's no vague outline. Like we know exactly where we're going and how many pages each book is going to be.
Oh, so that's smart that you wrote it all together.
Yeah.
And okay, that's great.
Yeah.
That's interesting, because I wonder if things will change with you. Like if in issue 3 you might be like, maybe we could do this or tweak this, or you know what I mean? Like I wonder if it'll.
I make my little like micro tweaks to the story, just an extra line, an extra scene here and there, but like the main core beats of what happened, they're largely intact.
Gotcha. Awesome.
You're so much more disciplined of a writer than I am. that is like the complete opposite of my process. Like when I did Red, White, and Broke, I wrote 1 issue, published it, and then I was like, and I ended each one with a cliffhanger. I'm like, at some point I should probably figure out how I'm going to fix that, and then I would do it for the next one. And I kind of knew where I wanted to get in the end, like sort of vaguely, but I'm a very seat of my pants kind of writer. I'm trying to get better at that actually. So it's good to know that you can do it. But yeah, to have the whole thing written out like that's impressive, my friend. Very impressive.
Yeah, it's I didn't want to run to the whole J.J. Abrams thing where you don't have good answers for the questions you pose.
Well, the mystery, right? I think that's important. I think if I try to do a mystery, which I'm terrified of, by the way, so more power to you. But if I did try to do one, I think I would have to do like that, write the whole thing out, because I'd be afraid of that. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think Brubaker does the same thing when he writes his mysteries, doesn't he? Like he has the ending figured out and he works backwards, like reverse engineers it.
Yeah.
That's probably why he's so good.
Yeah. There's something exciting to be said though about kind of just like letting it flow.
Yeah.
And not strictly abiding by, the guidelines.
Right.
And I think by playing that kind of like fast and loose as you're being creative can help you make discoveries along the way and help you kind of allow the characters to speak for themselves, so to speak. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and in my case, Red, White, and Broke was a superhero comedy. So I didn't have to worry so much about like, what if people don't take this particular twist seriously? Like there was a big cliffhanger in issue 1 that I resolved in kind of an offbeat way in issue 2, and I didn't have to worry so much that like, oh no, it's gonna affect the integrity of the book, because it's meant to be funny. And so actually that's one of the things people commented on the most for me was like, I love that how you fixed that, how you resolved that cliffhanger. And I just did it because I thought it was kind of quirky. But I think something like what you're doing, Tony, right? You have to like, because you have a mystery, right? You have to keep everything in line so that it all makes sense at the end, and that all the clues are there. And it's not just like where did that come from? You solved the mystery in a cheap way, right? That's so much more important. Whereas my book was literally just like, it's meant to be funny. So it's kind of like I could be a little more seat of my pants without having to worry that like, oh no, will people not take this seriously? You know what I mean? So I think it depends on what you're writing also.
Yeah, one of these streams I'll show you guys when I create a story. I create this graph that has all the beats from every main story beat to every small character beat, and it looks like DNA strands. And it makes sense to nobody else except for me.
Right.
But it's a great way to stay on top of clues, story beats, even smaller character beats. Yeah.
I actually do something similar, Tony. I use a Venn diagram. So I actually draw a circle, character, place, whatever, and then draw another circle that connects, and then how those two things connect, and I branch out from there. So kind of similar, but I like going through that process first because it's very visual. It's almost like having the proverbial tack board, where you can put all your things up, and then you can kind of see the all your pieces in the sandbox.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that part. It's very freeing. You're not really like tying everything down just yet. You're just trying to see how all the beats best fit together. And then when you write it, you sort of call some audibles along the way because the character feels one way. You're like, oh, let's go this way instead of the other way.
Right.
Yeah, no, that's awesome, dude.
And it's good to empathize with the character too. It's like allowing your character to speak for himself, or themselves.
Yeah, like Alan Miller, our main detective. The character didn't really form until like the very end. He had a line that really best described who he was as a character, and I was like, it was sort of an aha moment of like, oh, this is who this character is. So I had to go back and then really fit his arc to fit that line that he has at the end.
Yep.
Interesting. So you reverse engineered that after you had that aha moment too, huh? Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I like that. Yeah, well, it's looking back retroactively. That's part of the editing process too. You know what I mean? Some people will write their script fully, then go back and edit, and that's where they make discoveries. Personally, one practice I like to get into is every time I open up to sit down to write, I reread the draft I have written so far, and then I'll find myself making those edits along the way. And then, it's like chiseling away at a hunk of stone until you have your statue. It's the same kind of thing. And that, all that refinement, all that time is definitely not wasted, essentially,
Writing is rewriting.
It is. Yeah. It really is.
100%. Now, is there a specific tier that you recommend people check out?
Well, I would love for people to, just get a copy of the book. I'd hate for them to be, left out and have to wait essentially for the second Kickstarter to be fulfilled just to read the first book or to find me at a convention. But yeah, if you want to grab the digital copy, that's great. If you want to grab the physical book, I kept all of the price points the same as the Kickstarter.
Okay.
So you're still able to jump in. Yeah. And I just think the more the merrier. I really like seeing people still being interested even after the Kickstarter has been finished. I'm very excited for people to read it because I really want to see what they think. Because when you're doing a mystery, you're assuming everybody who reads it is an absolute genius and will figure out your twist straight away. So I want everyone to read the first book just to see how good I'm hiding my mystery.
Interesting. Okay.
Nice.
Yeah, I like hearing that.
It's good that you're also offering to both platforms because some people stay exclusive to others. You know what I mean? So, you could be leaving business on the table by not going to another platform. Aside from the Kickstarter.
Yeah, that's the one thing that didn't really make too much sense to me. I don't know if there's like a stigma against Indiegogo. It just, so many people kept messaging me, and it seemed like a good way to bring in more readers. And I feel like as writers, you're always looking for an opportunity to expand your readership. So.
Yeah, there's stupid stigmas on it, but it's like I look at it this way: you got to do what's best for yourself. And if going to this platform, it makes sense. It makes sense,
Yeah.
Like, I don't worry about all the drama going on in the comic industry. I just do what I need to do, for me. So I've done both platforms.
Yeah.
And I like this better just for the simple fact of the in-demand. And I also like the add-ons are really easy to do here, and I also like that people. My main thing is I like that people when they go to purchase a perk, they have to buy it right then and there rather than wait for Kickstarter to end, because I found on Kickstarter I lost at least $50 to $75 at the end, because then when they went to go charge the card, the person ghosted the campaign or whatever. Whereas this, you pay for it right then and there, like a real purchase. You know what I mean? So I like that aspect of it.
Or even we've talked about it before, but Russell on the volume 3 of Cthulhu's Hard to Spell, he had like 10K fraudulent bids on his campaign that if he didn't call into question, he would have ran the campaign only to have that much of a deficit after, because it was a fraud. It was somebody just trying to mess with the
crazy.
right. So it's just it's for it to bill right away is a good security feature in that regard.
I think so, and that's what those are the two reasons I like it a lot. And like I said earlier, like you can see once the campaign ends, you can see where the total was, and then you can also see the total after, how much you made in demand after,
Right.
which is cool, because and if you look at it that way, that's all money you're leaving on the table,
Yeah.
Harry's saying that he's sure that this is a better mystery than Glass Onion.
I would say so. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a little weak in the mystery era part of that movie, and way too long. Oh my god, that movie was obnoxiously long.
The movie's still going on.
It's still going on. Yeah, you're right. But yeah, anything else you want to point out about the campaign, Tony, that people might know?
It'll wrap April 1st. That's which is not a joke. It actually will end on April 1st. Grab if you missed the Kickstarter, definitely grab yourself a copy, and then you'll be up to speed when the second Kickstarter comes around for book 2.
Awesome.
Right on.
Yeah, I love it, dude. And how is the trailer short? I forget.
Yeah, it's a minute long.
All right, yeah, let's play it. All right, hang on.
No audio.
Oh yeah.
No audio?
No audio, Keith.
All right, hang on.
We're gonna do a quick rewind, everybody. Just a quick
Yeah, let me take it off here. Hang on. Present. I always forget to hit the audio when I do it, which is horrible. All right, here we go. All right, so let's see. All right, let's try this again.
Here we go. Let's roll that footage. There we go.
27th. Alan Miller, a homicide detective, a real ace in his field, has nightmares about strange beings. He's called in to investigate the murder of traffic detective Patrick Perkins, a most unusual slaying. The sight is not for the faint, but what is most curious is that Perkins' heart has been removed. The only lead is a beautiful silver starlight, the type of vehicle you'd never take your eye off of. The case runs cold, but Detective Miller is met by a strange being from his nightmares. The alien gives him the rub. He informs Alan that a, quote, shapeshifter, unquote, killed the young traffic detective. The kicker? This monster is hiding within Central Police Station alongside his fellow officers. The detective pays no mind to his encounter, but the same visitor is seen chatting up the captain. Alan barges into the captain's office and meets a young man, Ellis Tate, a new transfer from the Big Apple, the man who's been assigned to be Alan's new partner in the Perkins case. This story is penned by Mr. Tony James, a writer of sorts, a lover of old noir and science fiction. He's accompanied by 3 able-bodied artists, aces in their own field, much like our detective. And hot damn, take a gander at those rewards. Commemorate your purchase with these fine items. Don't be a fuddy-duddy. Back Star Noir today. It's the only way to defeat the communists.
I love it.
Love that.
That's great. This is great.
It's my terrible impression of an old news guy.
Was that you doing the audio?
Phenomenal voiceover work.
That was me, yeah.
Loved it.
That's great. That's great. All right. And then let's take a look at Uncaped. Let me
fire it up.
Yeah. So Mike, the
Yes.
floor is yours. Give us the elevator pitch of this.
All right, so Uncaped is a superhero rom-com. It basically answers the question, what if Wonder Woman fell in love with Jimmy Olsen? It's about Lady Olympus is one of the most famous women in the world. She's a superhero. She has the powers of the Greek gods, although she can only use one at a time. And she gets this vision of the future, and in it, she sees that she is destined to spend the rest of her life with this average, everyday, ordinary guy named Lucas Wilder. He works in a comic book store, he plays in a garage band, and he is not quite ready, he's sure, to date one of the most famous and powerful women in the world. And so it is very much a romantic comedy movie in comic book form, but with superheroes. So I try to... It hits all the rom-com beats, and it's got all the rom-com tropes in it, but it's all done in the world where superheroes are a big part of it. So that is Uncaped.
I love that you did this
Nice.
moment from Spider-Man, which is great.
Yeah, I'm a huge Mary Jane fan and a big Spider-Man fan, but that's just one of my favorite comic book moments, like of all time. So I
Yeah,
had to do
great.
the homage to Mary Jane's,
Yeah, I love that.
first
That's
appearance.
great. And
I love the colors.
Yes, I have a very talented colorist, Tiago Brandao. He's from Brazil, but he's done all my books so far. He does a really great job. Kind of captures that very like, bright, colorful. Like all my books are very like kind of pop off the page at you. I don't go for a lot of the muted colors and stuff like that. I like them to have a lot of pop to them.
yeah, like a comic book, right?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I love comics that aren't ashamed to be a comic. You know, like I just love that like colors and big exploding like sound effects, things like that. And I love that you did a bunch of different covers, huh?
Yeah, that's really cool.
Thank you. It's it's just the realities of Kickstarter. I think sometimes that it's you got to sell a lot of comics if you're just offering like one or two things. So it's because it's just a one shot and it's not a series or anything. One of the ways to kind of help spur those sales and get some of those pledges is to offer a variety of covers. And really, what I found is there's some people who just buy one cover, whichever one they like best. I've sold a good number of the complete sets where people can get all of the different covers. And then, I've had a lot of people through the add-ons just kind of pick one or two or three that they like, and kind of cherry pick their favorites. And really, it's just, it's twofold. It's for the Kickstarter, and then also just when you're tabling at the cons, the more things you have that can grab people's attention and grab their eye, the easier it is to get them to your table. So, it's funny because I don't love the variant cover trend in comics as a comic collector. When I go to the comic stores and there's like 5 variant covers for every issue of Spider-Man, I'm like, all right, Marvel, settle down.
Yeah, right.
Kickstarter, I'm like, here's my 11 covers, but, I don't have the budget that Marvel has. So, it's more of a
oh my God, it's so true. Like I hate variant covers, yet you go to my campaign, there's 3 of them right there.
Yeah, right. I mean, it's just,
the variant covers almost killed Marvel in the 90s. Actually, it pretty much did. They had to sell off all the characters to come back from that.
Yeah, and somehow it's come back, and it's now it's just the norm, and everyone's doing it. And it's like it's like Flash 789. There's like 6 covers. It's like it's not even a special issue. Like, but like I said, as an indie creator, it's the more offerings you can have, the easier to sell. And the reality of it is, as far as printing goes, it's very little extra cost for me to do different covers. The way my printer works, I pay for the guts of the book is the main cost, and then there's a little bit of an upcharge for different covers, but it doesn't affect my print run. So like if I do 1,000 books, but it's 5 different covers and 200 each, it's not like I'm only paying the 200 price 5 times.
Yeah.
I don't lose that bulk discount. So it's
just like a plate change or something.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So it just makes a lot of financial sense to have more offerings for people.
This Ed Smith, is that, I know an Ed Smith up in this area. Is that the same Ed Smith?
I believe it is. Yeah, he does a lot of the shows up. He's from maybe somewhere in the Northeast, in the New England area. He did a comic.
I think he did a cover for me.
He might have. He's a good guy.
He is. Yeah, he did some work for Source Point, I think.
Yeah, that's him. Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, he did a cover for me for Red, White, and Broke. He did my my Hulk homage cover, and he did the Rolling Stone cover here.
Yeah,
well.
I love the Rolling Stone cover. That one's awesome.
Yeah, really nice. Thank you. That's awesome, dude. Yeah, this looks fun, man. I gotta tell you, I've read a few. There's not enough like romantic comedy kind of comics, Like I did read. There was one called, I think, Love and Capes.
Love and Capes by Tom Zahler. Yeah,
yes, that one I've read. That was fun.
It is. It's good. It's more like I love Love and Capes, and I love Tom Zahler. He's amazing. But it is a little bit more of like a comic strip in a way. That one.
Yes, you're right.
Like 3 or 4 strip panels. You know what I mean?
So he probably ran it as a web comic.
Yeah,
first,
I think
then
so.
Collected it
and it's terrific. I really enjoyed it. But I did think of that. I was like, oh, am I too similar to his? But I think that the tone of
I don't think so from the looks of this
too, but I think the tone of them is a little bit different, and the structure is a little bit different.
Yeah, I think so too. And
they did a good job. I was just gonna say they did a good job of it in Invincible as well.
Yes, yeah.
That had a really good love story with it.
There was another book that DC put out back in I want to say maybe the mid 90s. It was a short run. I think it only lasted about maybe 15 issues. It was called
Heroes
Young.
in Love?
Yes, I love
Yeah,
that book. I
that was a
love
great
that
book.
series.
I can't say it was an influence because I read it back then and I haven't read it since, so I really remember.
Yeah, I've been wanting to pull it out and reread it,
but
see if
I
it
do
holds
like
up.
that one. But yeah, I will say Invincible is a huge influence on me. It's probably one of my favorite comics of all time, if not my favorite comic of all
Yeah,
time.
it really is.
And so while it's not, I don't think there's anything that kind of like that I kind of borrowed from Invincible, but like just in terms of spirit and feel, if I can be half as good as an Invincible comic, I feel like I've done a pretty great thing. So
Nice.
yeah,
I feel like that's a good one to kind of use as a template too,
yeah,
because it was heavily focused on romance and not necessarily comedy, but like
But it was more like teen romance, but it was also like
real life. Like it
through
was
the
like, and
lens
then
of a superhero, right? Exactly.
but then also grew into like an adult romance and then a marriage,
Right.
and everything like that.
yeah.
Right. And
Yeah.
also actually had some pretty good like tangents too, and like side turns, things you didn't expect. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
they did a good job in that one.
Yep,
Yeah.
for sure.
I agree. Now, Mike, is there a specific perk or like that you try to point out to people when you?
Yeah, I mean, I would love for people to go right to that most expensive one that includes everything. No, I'm just kidding. No, honestly, it's really any like Tony said. I just want people to read the book. I'm really proud of it. I'm real excited about it. I think people really enjoy it. My comics company, Out of Time Comics, our motto is where fun comes first. I don't write the grim and gritty stuff. That's not my thing. I'm a humor guy, and all my comics will probably almost always have kind of a humor component to them. And so I just want people to read the books and have a smile on their face. So for me, it's like pick whichever cover you like best. There is a nice package that includes all the 6 main covers for like a $20 savings. So if you're into that kind of thing, that's a good one to check out. But really anything that puts the book in your hands that they'll let you read it, I'm excited about. I appreciate every pledge that comes in.
Yeah, and I will say I have read Red, White, and Broke, and I thought it was great. So
Thank you.
And I think you have a great grasp of comedy. So
thank you.
Pay a compliment there.
There's some stuff that I really, it's interesting. There's not a ton of comedy comics out there or humor comics.
No, there's not.
There. And I always like, when I tell people they're comedies, I worry just for a second because I'm like, they're not like laugh out loud, gag a minute kind of things. You know what I mean? But there's definitely, I think, a very strong sense of humor that runs through them. And so I want people to know that there's a serious story that tells that has emotional heft to it and that it has stakes to it, but it's just told in a way that there's a lot of lightheartedness and humor. It's not getting bogged down in its own seriousness, but it's not like it's like a jokey, goofy,
like a zany,
right, exactly.
what the or something.
Exactly. It's more along the lines of like Invincible or something like Peter David might write, that kind of thing where there's a lot of, moments of humor, but it's still telling a real story.
Yeah, gotcha. Like even like Spider-Man has a lot of jokey moments.
Right. Yeah. Big influence too. Spider-Man. I mean, that's Red, White, and Broke. Obviously it was a character can't pay the bills. I mean, you've got the genesis of that in Peter Parker, right?
Yeah. Oh, definitely.
And I took it a different direction, but obviously there's some influence there. So I think Spider-Man kind of did everything first,
Yeah.
So yeah, but that's definitely, I always, even as a kid reading comics, like that humor in the Spider-Man comics always drew me. That's why he's my favorite superhero. They generally don't get too serious. The Spider-Man comics are overly serious.
Right. Yeah, I will tell you, the funny thing with comedy too, with comics is my first miniseries I ever did was a comedy too. And I remember pitching it to Diamond, and this is just the reality of but this was, I'm going to say this is back in 2012 2013, so things might be a little different now. But when I pitched that graphic novel, I pitched the issues to Diamond, and the first thing they told me, comedy doesn't sell.
Right.
So I had to wait until all the issues were done and then pitch it to him as a graphic novel.
Yeah.
And then I was able to get in Diamond at that point with the graphic novel. But at first they were like, nah,
Right.
comedies don't sell. Like,
Yeah.
so they didn't even want anything to do with it. You know? So,
Right. Well, that's why I throw the superheroes in, right? Instead of writing just a straight up comedy, I figure, you know.
Yeah, you got a little edge there, you know.
Yeah, people are always going to like the superheroes, you know. So, you know, keep something that can attract the comics readers, you know.
Yeah. Harry threw out some advice for you. You can't be funny all the time, but be serious about being funny or something.
Yeah, I think my wife would argue with you if about me not trying not to be funny all the time. You know, maybe I don't succeed, but I certainly try, which probably frustrates people in my real life sometimes. You know?
I think I think you had some great advice for Tony with the Star Wars thing.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
And funny. It was really funny.
I'm glad to hear that.
But yeah, anything else that you'd like to say about the campaign that we didn't cover at all, or
you know, just that, I mean, again, just that it's a one-shot story. It's complete, you know, it's a complete story start to finish. You know, again, the artwork. You mentioned you really like the artists who can kind of get those quiet moments. I think my artist, one of his best traits is his facial expressions. You know, he always nails what my characters are thinking and feeling, and I think it brings a level to the book that really impressive for an indie comic, you know. So, but mostly it's just fun. I just want people to read it and have a good time and have a smile on their face. And if they finish reading it and they're like, I enjoyed that, I had a good time with that, it made me smile, then I feel like I did my job, you know.
Yeah. And I will say too, like couple things that you know, this is your the seventh Kickstarter? So yeah. You've done 6 previous campaigns and fulfilled all 6. So.
Yeah, and they've all been on time. Actually, I've never had
all on time, so people can have the confidence in backing you.
Yes.
And Tony, I think you've done a campaign before yours as well, right?
Yeah, I did. It was the Cyberpunk comic. That was.
And you fulfilled it. You got it out close to being on time, or
yeah. I think there was a small delay with the printers, but yeah, once we had the book, we should go right out.
Yeah, and people are fine with that as long as, you know, you keep them in the loop. I find, you know, it's like just good customer service, you know. So I'm going to share these links in the chat for people. And if you're watching this video later, like tomorrow, they will be in the description of the video as well. So if you want to help out some cool indie creators and, you know, back their books, and, you know, both of them are reasonably priced too. So, you know, I think,
and complete stories too. So
yeah, I know I always work really hard to keep them affordably priced. I try to always. Some of the prices sometimes you see what people are charging for things on some of the platforms. And I saw your prices look very, very reasonable as well. But sometimes I'll go because I back a lot. I never forget when I got the distinction on Kickstarter of being a super backer, and I was like, that sounds expensive. I don't know if I needed to know that I'd be a super backer, but I've backed several hundred Kickstarters, and so there's times I go to pledge on something, and it's like it's like a 24-page floppy comic, and it's like $13 or $12, and they want like $8 for shipping, and I'm like $20 for a 24-page comic. I'm not trying to throw shade at anybody, but I just,
no, but it's a lot. Yeah,
right, as a comic book collector, I have a hard time with that. So for me, it's like, okay, I'm giving you a 24-page, a 48-page square bound, cardstock cover, prestige format, and you can get the base cover for $12 plus a few bucks for shipping. I mean, I can't get much lower than that because the realities of the shipping costs, but like, my first issue of Red, White, and Broke was like $6, that for a 24-page comic with no ads. I mean, like, so I just, and maybe I don't know if I made a lot of money on that campaign. I mean, I'm not the best businessman in the world.
And forget about all the gravel you had to ship too.
Right, exactly. But I do try to work hard to, like, I'm not a name, I'm not a big famous person, so people have to take a chance on me. And I feel like one of the ways that makes that a little safer is not trying to charge an arm and a leg and be like, hey, here's this book you've never heard of. I'm going to charge you 10 times what Marvel is charging, and you're going to love it. Hard to justify. So I work hard to keep the prices low.
I think that's a good thing to shoot for, you know. And is there? I was going to ask you, do you prefer like Kickstarter over any of the other crowdfunding sites?
You know, so I haven't run an Indiegogo campaign yet. Although listening to you guys talk about it now, of course, I'm seriously considering trying one to see how that goes. You know, as a backer, I've kind of avoided Indiegogo. It's funny because what you were talking about from the creator perspective, the fact that people have to pay right away is great because we all know as creators of Kickstarter about dropped pledges. You know, you get canceled pledges at the end, you get people's credit cards not going through, right? So that's really appealing as a creator. As a backer, right? I like the flexibility that I get with Kickstarter of like, oh, I kind of want this expensive thing, but I don't have the money today. But if I pledge on it now, I can pay for it in 3 weeks. I'm okay with that, right? And Indiegogo, it's always like, oh, I got to pay today. Like, I'm not ready for that, you know? So it's sort of like, as a backer, I lean towards Kickstarter, and I've kind of avoided Indiegogo.
That's the same with a few other guests have said the same thing. You know?
And it's a matter of I spend too much money on comic books, so I don't really need to go diving into another platform where I can spend more money on comic books. You know what I mean? Like that's
the huge thing too. Like you start scrolling, like sometimes I just scroll through and see what's out there, and I'm like, oh my god, these stuff, and you find like a creator that you know from other stuff that's doing a campaign that you didn't hear about, and you're like, oh god,
I scroll through to see what other people are doing just to kind of get ideas and look at graphics and stuff like that, and then before you know it, I've pledged on 3 books, and I'm like, well, that wasn't my intention, you know? But, you know.
Well, the other thing that sucks too is doing this show because we meet so many creators, and I'm like, oh god, I gotta back this guy's book now.
Right. You know? No, I'm waiting to see my pledge come through on my phone right now. I mean, anytime. Oh, look at that! Actually, here I am making a joke, and look what I got on my phone. I got a little pledge from Johnny C. Thanks, Johnny.
No problem, man. I couldn't resist that Rolling Stones cover.
Yeah, that's been one of the popular ones for sure.
Yeah, and I'll be backing as well, Mike.
I appreciate that. I was really just joking. No pressure. I appreciate you guys having me on. This is great to get the exposure and open it up to people.
Definitely,
we're happy to have you guys on for sure.
Yeah, definitely. So I'm going to start wrapping up. We're almost at the 90 minutes, which is crazy. You know,
time flies.
You know, any upcoming convention appearances, anything like that you guys want to promote? Are you guys going to be anywhere else or?
I will be in my office making the rest of Star Noir.
Just hard at work, right? Yeah.
That's awesome.
Hey, man, power to you, Tony, you know?
Yeah. I've got a couple. I'll be doing Saratoga in May. I think it's the beginning of May 5th and 6th and 7th, something like that. Saratoga Comic Con. And also be doing Granite Con in September, which is in New Hampshire.
Oh, okay.
I really like that show. And I'm trying to get to a couple more. I just haven't finalized any. If you're in the upstate New York area, there's a Fandom Fest in August in Schenectady. So those are all official, and then a couple more that I'll probably try and sneak into once I check the calendar and all that stuff.
Yeah, awesome. And if you guys ever make it up, I don't know if it's worth it for a 1-day show, but if you guys ever make it up in this neck of the woods, check out the convention I do. I do a show called Plastic City, and I try to keep it very comic focused. You know, I try to keep
it's a good show for sure.
Keep out all the stuff that isn't comics, you know, like it's a balancing act. But
send me all that info, Keith. I'm always looking for good drivable, small shows. So for sure, let me know.
Yeah, it's late August. So I don't know if that would work out for you, but yeah, I'll send you the info.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Awesome. Yeah. I'll send it to your email.
Please do.
Later today or later tonight or tomorrow.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. Any socials you guys want to shout out? We'll go around the room.
You can find me on the Twitters at T/J and on Instagram at BananaBat, where I take a bunch of the Star Noir art and I set it to 1940s music.
Cool.
Nice.
Fun. Yeah.
Smart. Yeah.
And I'm on all of the major socials as Out of Time Comics. That's my comic company. It's Out of Time, like the Back to the Future spelling, OUTTA Time Comics, all one word. And you can find me on there. It is, it's on the screen. But yeah, so most of your TikTok and Facebook and Instagram and all that stuff. So
awesome, Johnny. Anything you want to shout out?
So Chicago, I will see you in 2 weeks.
Nice.
For C2E2.
Nice.
I also want to thank Tony and Mike for coming on the show tonight. Thank you for taking your time. Thank you for hanging out with us. We greatly appreciate it. I think people should definitely back Uncaped, back Star Noir. Now's your chance to pull the trigger on that. So I also want to give a quick shout out to a couple other campaigns I'm backing right now.
Okay.
We have King's Keep by Noah Sharma. Basically a Redwallian tale.
Okay.
Redwallian comic book fairy tale about connection, toxic relationships, and what it means to be brave. Looks really cool. Beautiful watercolor artwork. Check that out. We also have my good friend Jeff Ryder, who will be tabling with in C2E2. He's got the end of his campaign, 48 hours to go, Tales of Major Holmes and Captain Watson. This is basically a short collection of fiction pieces. So it's novelized versions.
Okay.
Yeah, prose of the comic story, and that's going on right now. Basically, it's a riff on Sherlock Holmes. You can get that on Kickstarter, and then our good friend Eric Radvon just launched Lady Dark issue 3.
Yeah.
So you can check that out on Kickstarter
That
right
earlier
now.
today. Yeah, definitely. I think he already hit his goal, or he's very close.
Smacked his goal.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, that's another great book if you guys are looking for superhero books. Like, reminds me of Spawn. Did you read it, Johnny?
Yeah, it's very kind of Spawnish.
It reminds me of Spawn. It's like an Image kind of
like
throwback
Witchblade
style. Yeah.
Yeah.
Witchblade mixed with Spawn or something.
Yeah.
But written a little better. Like, I think Eric's a better writer than Todd McFarlane.
Yeah.
What? How that? I don't believe that.
Yeah.
Look, I went back and I cracked an issue of The Darkness, and I was like, we read this in the 90s? Like,
right? Some of that early Image stuff is a little rough. Yeah. But actually, speaking of recommendation, I just reviewed on the channel this week. Have you guys checked out Local Man? It's a new Image book. I love the first issue. I thought that was great.
I do too. And who's the writer on that again? It's
Tim Seeley and Tony Fleeks.
Yeah,
another
Tim
book
Seeley
called
can be
Stray
hit or miss
Dogs
for
or
me.
something.
I find he can be hit or miss for me, but I thought the first issue of Local Man was really, really good. I did.
Me
enjoy it
too.
quite a bit.
Me too, Johnny. It's basically about like a guy that was on like an Image like Youngblood team. He ends up going back home to his hometown because something happened. There's like a big controversy, and he's humbled basically and going back and picking up his life in the Midwest, and then then there's a murder and stuff like that. But the cool thing about the book is it's got a flip book. On the other side is an 8-page story drawn as like an Image style, like of like him being on the team back in the 90s, and
oh, cool.
It's like written in that bad like Image way, and
yeah. That's
it's
really
cool stuff. Really well done, so I recommend that to everybody who's
I'll have to check it out. It sounds interesting.
A lot of fun.
Definitely. All right, I definitely want to thank both of you guys for being on the show as well.
Thank you for taking the time. We greatly appreciate it.
I love being on the show. It's such a very relaxed vibe.
Oh, awesome. That's great to
We
hear.
love
That's what
having
we
you,
go
man.
for.
Yeah.
We try to like just make it fun, no like gotcha questions, that kind of thing,
I appreciate that.
Yeah, definitely. Just a talk about comics, know, and just the stuff we love. So it's easy for me to do. So check out both these guys' campaigns, and I will reiterate again that the link is below in the description if you're watching this later. Check out both these awesome creators and their work. And if you got any money left over, check out Mighty Mascots 7, 8, and 9, as well. So if that's it, boys, we'll end this episode of Indie Comics Relay. Any last words?
Just thanks for having us. This was a blast. I look forward to coming back again in the future.
Awesome. Yeah, definitely.
Exactly. I agree.
Be excellent to one another.
Yeah. Read some comics. All right, everybody. Have a good night, and we will talk to you later.
Okay.